let's go back to that period then. Talk us through how your performances were and how it was where you were so close and then it still took a while to really break into the New Zealand team.
Yeah, like it wasn't a train wreck by any means. You know, I still found ways to do, but I definitely, so I had a good start and then teams started bowling spin to me early, which again, growing up in Perth at high school anyway, you get the bounce where you can stay on top of it and sit back and do what you do. And suddenly I had Jink Patel going, fizzing it, like bowling quick and skidding it through. And I was like, oh, okay. I was a little bit out of my depth, and it probably took me a good 2-year period to actually adjust my setup to allow me to be able to access my ones better for that. And then
can we go into, sorry to cut you off again, but let's go into what was the adjustment? What did you have to change?
So for me, batting's all about being as still as possible. And I'm lucky I've got quite a high pickup. So I think that's one of my strengths. I want to make sure I keep using that. But as soon as I started facing spin, as opposed to reacting to pace, which I do, I started to preempt spin and start moving and going at it. And then I'd get stuck and I'd have to use my hands, which against good spin bowlers, you can't. If you get stuck on the crease, you're buggered. So for me, it was finding a way so that at the point of release, I'm as still as possible, but then able to move, whether it's forward or back quick, and then be able to access through the ball. And it was just a lot of tinkering, trying to find ways so that, yeah, at the point of release, I'm nice and still and able to move and not be stuck on the crease. And it sounds simple, but yeah, it definitely took a lot of tinkering and ways to figure out. And yeah, now obviously I feel like I'm comfortable within the spin game that, yeah, and it's obviously helped to start my innings and get going.
And so in that period, I'm assuming you're in your early 20s, you're in your sort of second, third, fourth season, you've got coaches, you've got Noddy who's in Perth, I'm sure you're talking to a lot, but there's a phrase that I love, that you've got to own your own development. Was it just something that you said, look, I'm just not good enough against spin, I've got to take it into my hands, I've got to get the ND coaches to really just bowl, like throw lots of spinners to me, I've got to face the spinners whenever I can, I've got to formulate my plan and tinker and change? Was it all on you, or was it someone said to you, let's go away and work?
I think it has to be on you, because if for me, I like, again, being a slightly stubborn character at times, if someone tells me to do something, I'm almost like, nah, I'm not doing that. Like, I've got this. And so it's probably me recognizing, okay, if I'm averaging 30 in first class cricket, yeah, that's good. But if I want to play for New Zealand, if I want to win games for at the time Northern Districts, that's not going to cut it. Like, I need to find ways so that guys bowling pace, I can do my thing. Guys bowling spin, I can do my thing, and it's not halting a team's innings. So for me, that was like, all right, if I want to get better, I've got to. You watch a lot of footage of guys and see how they do things, and obviously talking with Nod and a few other guys. Yeah, you just come up with your own way that it suits your setup and what are your strengths as a player. I didn't try and copy a specific type of player, because there's only one Daryl Mitchell, or there's actually another one who plays county cricket in England, but it's a different story. But there's only one, so I just wanted to make sure that the setup allowed me to keep my strengths as a player. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, and what I find interesting, which is a really great learning for the younger players watching or listening to this, is how you said you tinkered and you changed your setup to be able to access your ones more easily. You didn't say, I wanted to be able to sweep and hit boundaries and hit spinners out of the attack. So was it a focus of how do I get off strike to spin a bit better?
Yeah, and I think it's probably not overthinking it too much. Like, we've all been there as a batter when you walk out and suddenly they've got a mid-wicket in and covers coming tighter and maybe long on's back but mid-off's up, and you're like, right, well, I can't just slog one to get going here. I've got to, as soon as you start thinking about too much, then you start jabbing at the ball and it gets harder. So it's almost like, do the work so that then you're confident and you can just walk out and be like, right, I know if he bowls here, I'm doing this. If he bowls here, I'm going to reverse sweep, get a field, get mid-wicket across the 2 points. Or just it's knowing what your strengths are and then backing your skills so that you can do that on a regular, and then next thing you know, it just becomes normal, like someone's throwing you a throw down. If that makes sense.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So it's just putting in the work and then trusting that you've done the work, and trusting your sort of decision making and your subconscious a bit without overthinking. Okay, I've got to do this, I've got to do that.
And I think that constantly, like even now at 30 or 29 still, that you're constantly evolving. Like you're even today, you're just playing with things, working out, yeah, how can I get the fields that I want to make the game easier. I'm at the stage now where I don't think a lot of technical stuff. It's more making sure I've got a couple of key checklists that I keep making sure works for me, but it's just about trying to find ways to compete against that bowler and try and score runs to help us win games of cricket.
And on that note of trying to get the fields that I want, an expression I use is managing risk. So are you like potentially taking a higher risk early to try, like a reverse sweep, let's say, that's higher risk than just patting the ball down the wicket? Are you sort of maybe taking that risk to get that, like you said, mid-wicket across? Are you sort of managing risk and maybe taking higher risk early so that you can play it on your own terms?
Yeah, I think you're always adapting to the game situation as well, and especially T20 cricket. You're allowed to take more higher risks because there's only 120 balls for the whole team. So yeah, for me, it's trying to get as a field that I feel comfortable and easy with to allow me to take better options for longer. And if that means having to run down and chip one over with mid off and mid on up at some point to try and get a long on back, or whether it's a scoop or a reverse or whatever to allow an easier one to be able to keep rotating, then yeah, it's something that you're constantly weighing up throughout the innings, because what you score as an individual doesn't really matter. It's about trying to do whatever's best to help the team get to where we need to be to help win games of cricket. And I think the quicker you learn that as a batsman, the actually more success you'll have individually. So yeah, if it means trying to hoy one over cow to get cow back, then yeah, we'll go for it.
Yeah, nice. And while we're on it again, what are the few technical checklist points that you sort of try and focus on in your setup and your game?
Yeah, I'm reasonably tall at 6'3", so I need to make sure that I'm covering my straight lines nicely, not falling over, and get my shin blown off. So yeah, that's something that,
mate, I know how that feels. That's been my whole
yeah,
career.
I think we've all been there. So yeah, that's one, making sure, especially red ball cricket, making sure I'm covering that straight line nicely. And for me, I know my backlift's a massive part of my game, so making sure that I am picking it up nice and high, and I think that helps me. And people talk about engaging top shot, all that sort of stuff, but for me, it's if I pick my hands up nice and high and take my head to wherever the ball is, then I'm going to be in pretty good position. So yeah, there's obviously a few little things that I just keep making sure I do, especially when you're playing every third, fourth day. You don't get a lot of time to actually train volume, so it's just making sure that you're in a space where okay, I've ticked off these things, I know I'm in a good place to walk out and compete the next day.
And do you do that, let's say it's a training day the day before a game, or it's the morning of the game? Do you do that with underarms, with sidearm, facing bowlers, bowling machine? How do you tick off those things to get in a good space?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't hit a lot. I don't hit a lot of balls. I think when I was younger, I did to try and learn these things. Where now I feel like I'm at the stage where I still love batting and doing it, but it's just making sure that I tick these off. I think you can't be too structured with how you prepare, because if you show up to ground, one ground might have good nets, one ground might just have a net up in the outfield. So I think it's throws, flinger, I'm happy to do whatever, but it's just making sure that those movements in the field are in the right place. I might hit 10 balls and be happy, or I might hit for an hour and a half or the day before. It literally just depends on, am I in a good space mentally? Am I ticking off these little technical things which make sure that I'm good to go? And then at the end of the day, how you hit them the day before doesn't matter on the day. So just keep.
Yeah, and I think it's a really important point to make, that you've earned the right through all the work you've done previously. You've earned the right to not hit so many balls. I think when you're 16, 17, 18, you can't just say, well, Daryl Mitchell does it and AB de Villiers only hits 10 underarms, so that's what I'm going to do. But I promise you, AB de Villiers at 37, 38, whatever he is, and you at 30, you've put in the
21,
work. 29, sorry, mate.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, right.
you've put in the work that allows you to now just have a hit of 10 balls or whatever if you're feeling good.
Yeah, I think, and it's different for everyone. Like I watch Kane Williamson or Tom Layton prepare, and those guys are really structured with how they prepare and how they go about, preparing for games because that works for them. And again, I'm not Kane, I'm not Tom. I don't prepare like that because I know that my personality is I want to get things done and make sure I'm clear. And maybe that's why they're way better players than me, but the way that they prepare is not the same as me, and I don't think you should try and copy people. Yes, you can learn off them and try things, but you need to work out what works for you to help you get ready for game time.
Yeah, absolutely. Another very, very important point. Now, what was it that happened that got you selected for New Zealand? Your first outing for New Zealand was in T20 cricket a couple of years ago, 2019. How did that come about? Were you dominating state cricket, and what sort of was the moment that you broke in?
Yeah, I guess I knocked on the door for a little while. When I originally started, I was probably more a batsman, and personally, I always wanted to bowl and be an all-rounder. And I guess that opportunity probably came about within my state side. To be able to bowl, and I really enjoyed bowling the death overs for Northern Districts, and I think that probably helped me get a spot within the New Zealand side. Is that I could bat in that middle order, top to middle order, and be able to bowl from 1 to 20th over. And so that was something that really pushed for. And I think a big learning for me is from that 6-year period was when you get a taste New Zealand Day, you think you're close. I probably wasn't realistically, but you start getting obsessed with, right, I need to do this. I need to average this. I need to score these. I need to be in the top 5 scorers of Plunket Shield, whatever. And you almost get obsessed with doing well and you fear failure. So you get out and then you beat yourself up and it starts to get hold of you. Where I think now in the last 4 or 5 years, it's been, all right, I'm going to do whatever's best for the team. I know that my personality suits, I'm going to be as competitive as I can, whether it's with bat, with ball. And that's not by saying, it just means that I want to win situations for my team as much as I can. And then if that happens, I'm probably going to get 50. I'm probably going to get some milestones along the way, but my team's going to win. And we won the Super Smash that year, and then which is our T20 comp over here. And the next thing, Tim Seifert, myself, Scott Kugelheim, we're all in the T20 team from that, winning a Super Smash. And I think that was a big realization that, again, just keep trying to win games of cricket for your team. Don't worry about your own personal milestones. That stuff will take care of itself. And it's something that I keep sort of trying to drive now is, just be as competitive as I can and win those small moments in games.
Yeah, well, those small moments that actually are the big important moments and if you win them more often than not, you're going to be the one that the selectors above want in the team, and for you, it's the New Zealand team. So when you say in the last 4 or 5 years you made a mindset shift, was that just maturity? Was that just sort of speaking to a few other people and just you got a bit older, you realised, okay, I can't focus on my stats and my individual performances, which is going to get me New Zealand. I just need to focus here. Was that something that just came with maturity?
I think it's a number of things. Obviously, maturity, and seeing how people that you idolize, like for me, BJ Watling within Northern Districts, he's at obviously probably I would say the best test keeper going around at the moment in the world, and just watching how he goes about his work, and he sort of epitomizes what we want to be in terms of the humbleness and just team first over here with New Zealand. And so you sort of watch guys like him, Tim Southey, and Kane at the time, and it's just like, okay, actually, that's how those guys go about their cricket. It's like, actually, I know I can be like that, and that's who I am as a person, but I want to bring my own flavor and be competitive and do that. But at the same time, just literally try and win games of cricket for your team and do well. And I guess when you get married and have kids, you do realize it's more important things than cricket itself. And it's put everything into perspective and just have fun.
Yeah, and what I think's awesome that I've picked up is that you're your own unique person. You're going about it your own way, but you can rather than modeling the technique or the game plan of a Kane Williamson or a Tom Latham, as you referred to earlier, you can sort of model their behaviors and how they go about it, and that, but still be yourself. And that's what it sounds like you started to do, is you started to model, okay, this is how they're going about it. These are their behaviors. They're putting the team first. I'm going to follow their lead. And that's when you start to play your best cricket.
Yeah, I guess, and I think it's not it just subconsciously sort of happens when you're around those world-class players day in, day out. And yeah, obviously very lucky to be a part of that group, and hopefully I can pass on some of those things to younger guys coming through in the future.
Yeah, awesome. Now, going back to what you said a few moments ago about you wanted to be the death bowler. You were playing in Perth here as an all-rounder. You went to NDs, broke in as a batter. Throughout that period, were you always practicing your bowling? When did you decide you wanted to be a death bowler? Was it something that you've always been good at, or did you say, I'm going to be a death bowler? You then had a bit of time to go away and work on your skills, work on your changes of pace and your Yorkers, etc. How did you become such a good death bowler?
Yeah, I guess I always bowled in the nets, but I probably didn't realise at the time how much work I need to put into my bowling to be able to do it day in, day out. You know, you sort of grab the ball and you just run in, and you might get 3 or 4 overs in a first class game and might pick up 1 or 2 wickets, and how good's this? But to be able to, it was pretty much speaking to the coaches and the leaders at the time saying, look, I want to bowl. I was lucky Dean Brownlee, who you'd know from Perth days, he was the captain of ND in the T20s. I said to him, I really want to bowl some death stuff. He's like, okay, I'll give you a crack, but you've got to back up what you're doing. So I need to make sure I practice more and put a lot more time into my bowling, and it meant I need to get a lot fitter and a lot stronger. And so and then luckily enough that he sort of helped me those first few games, and it just grew in confidence, and you discover again what works for you. I'm not quick. I'm not 140. I'm 130 at best, but trying to find ways to make it work for me, and again, go back to winning. Each ball, each little moment in T20 cricket's massive. So that's sort of the way I go about with bowling. And it's a bit more for me. Batting's the business time and bowling's the fun. So it's good fun.
Yeah, nice. And again, it just wasn't easy. It wasn't just straightforward. You had to get fitter, get stronger, work harder to be the player you are today. And I think that's all that happens behind sort of closed doors, not in the spotlight. And people see you scoring 100 in an ODI or 100 in a Test match, and a lot of the time people don't realise all the hard work that you've put in. So again, well done.
No, it's to be honest with you, the training bit's the fun part. Yes, you obviously milestones are cool, and it's awesome to. At the time when you're playing, you don't really think about it, but probably looking back when I'm 40 or 50, I'll be like, oh yeah, those hundreds are cool. But trying to work each day with your mates and trying to work your butt off and just be the best player you can be. That's actually at the time that's the fun stuff. That's why you do this day in, day out, I reckon.
Yeah, and if you don't enjoy it, then you're probably not in the right profession. You probably shouldn't be doing it. But yeah, you're very lucky to be able to do something you love and try and get better every day. Going back to your on-field stuff now, you made your debut in T20s in February 2019. You then debuted in Test cricket later that year in November/December. You scored 73 on your Test debut against England. Going into that match, were you full of confidence and thought, okay, this is where I belong, I'm going to show everyone how good I am? Or were there some doubts saying, oh shit, it's Test cricket, the ball might move a bit, England, good team, am I going to be good enough? What was your mindset going into that match?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people when they make their Test debut, it actually all happens very quickly, because for me, Colin de Grandhomme, he got injured the game before, and I think it was about 3 days between tests, and I was about to go play a one-day game at the state level, and got the call, come up to Hamilton, which is where I grew up. You're in the Test squad. And it's like, okay, quick, pack your bags, and it all happens very quickly. So that whole week was a bit of a blur. It was really cool to make it in Hamilton, where I'd grown up as a kid on the bank watching games, and and to have my family and grandparents and stuff in the stand was really cool. But yeah, for me, I was at the stage where I probably didn't know if it was ever going to happen, if I was ever going to play for New Zealand. And so it was sort of like, I'm just going to have as much fun as I can out there and compete, and whatever will be in many ways. I know I've done the work to that point to get me to this stage. And yeah, if I score some runs and stick to what I do best, then yeah, hopefully I'll have some success and do well from there. And yeah, I tried to not make it bigger than what it was. Obviously, that we're really lucky. The night before you do your CAT presentation, so then the day of the game is it's just another game of cricket. As much as you try and make it, and obviously when you cross the rope and you do the national anthem, that's your heart's pumping. But I made a real conscious effort to just it's just another game, and just try and be as calm and as normal as possible. And I think that really helped you get through those 5 days as quick as they went.
Yeah, amazing. And then 102 not out in your last Test match, I think, about a year ago against Pakistan. Talk us through that. That must have been a pretty special moment.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, I've moved down to Christchurch just under a year ago now to play for Canterbury, and my wife being from here, that was a pretty big move at the time. And yeah, to score my first Test 100 on my new home ground, it was pretty special. I think it was the lights had just come up at Hagley, and so they were on, and to score 100 out there was again something I look back on in time, and it will be pretty cool. But at the time it was just literally just try and do a job for the team and put us in a position to get a decent score. And I was lucky that Kane didn't declare on me, because he sent me out to have some fun for the last few overs. So it was a pretty special moment.
Awesome. And now having had a taste of Test cricket, 4 tests, playing 80 first-class games, having played grade cricket here in Australia, what do you think is the biggest difference when you step up the level, or what separates Test cricket from first-class cricket in New Zealand?
Yeah, look, I've had a taste, and I hope to have a lot more, and I'm sure there'll be some challenges along the way that I'm going to have to keep adapting with international cricket. But I think everyone's just more consistent when you go from 19s to grade cricket, or you go from grade cricket to first class cricket. It's just everything is more consistent. It's not that much quicker. It's not that much, it's probably as a batter, the bowlers don't miss as much. So you've got to trust your defense more. You've got to be sound in your game, and probably the outside pressures of media and all that as well. That's probably the hardest part, the higher up you go. But for me, it's just keep backing your skills, keep trusting your own game, and there will be times when you'll fail, and you'll have to work out ways to combat, because as you're trying to get better, they're trying to get better as well. So it's about working out what they're trying to do to you and adapting as you go. But Test cricket's the ultimate, and obviously different conditions challenge you, but it's just they're a lot more consistent. They don't miss as much. That's pretty
Yep, fair. And it's just still a game. It's still a contest. Whether you're playing grade cricket, I spoke to Sean Marsh on this podcast a few weeks ago. It's whether you're playing grade cricket or whether you're playing for Australia or for New Zealand, it's still the same contest, bat versus ball. So the actual contest doesn't change. It's the sort of environment, what colours you're wearing, what helmet you're wearing, etc. That's what changes, but the contest stays the same.
Yeah, I think that's the cool thing about the game that we play, is that you can walk out and be Don Bradman. You still can nick off a first ball, whether you're playing club cricket or international cricket. And so that's why, it's the game that I think simulates life as much as you have good days, you have bad days, and you can't let it affect who you are as a person. But I think it's such a cool game, and it challenges you in so many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely.